my grandfather's second wife, whose name was Rita. His first wife's name was Rita. So you have to specify which Rita you're talking about. Hi everybody, welcome to the show. Today is episode 139. And I have a new experiment to discuss with you. Welcome to my knitting channel. I feel like I had something to tell you and I don't remember. Stay tuned for the end of the show. I have some channel news that I want to discuss with y'all. I don't know how long this episode is going to be because we're expecting storms. So it's quite early. It's like 2 hours earlier than you can tell that the sun is different in the backyard. I have not had a proper time to wake up, so my brain is a little bit more mush than normal. Are we all set on Geogradient, you guys? I have already changed my mind. So I was gonna dye up dark grays to make like a dark gray gradient, and I was gonna do it on the yak base, and then I said no. I don't want to use the yak base because I want to play with color on the yak base, because the yak base will dull the color and make them more moody, and I didn't want to waste it on black. So I was like, okay, I'll dye some colors on just regular like platinum sock and be fine. And I was going to do that, and then I went through the colors that I wanted, and I realized it was one of the sets I bought at the store. It just one color was off. So I'm going back to the store this week and I'm going to exchange the one color I got for another color, which would be exactly what I had picked out to dye. So that I don't have to dye my own colors. Because what a waste of yarn I already have. I could just do it. And then if I don't like that, I'm just going to go with the Sweet Georgia yarns that I had anyway. Because it doesn't matter. So I'm not dyeing my yarn for this. I'm either going to do one of the two that I got at the store. Okay. So it's half stash and half bought from my local store. So we'll see. I don't know what's happening. Okay. What am I wearing? I'm wearing our finished object today, so I'll talk to you about it in a minute. We'll start whips. Whips. I have one whip. And it is the beginning of the harvest from Tin Can Knits, which is something I've been trying to make for like, I don't know, 2 years, 3 years. So this is the beginning of it. This is okay, so it's like this. This is the neck band. So I'm ready you go around now the bottom and pick up stitches, and then pick up these that are on a provisional cast on, and then you work the whole thing top down, and you keep this as like a worked in button band. You can't see, it's just garter. So this is like a button band that's worked as you go, because I don't like picking up stitches after, like picking up this many stitches is going to annoy the crap out of me, because I don't like picking up stitches. Don't like it. Like for this I have to pick up 8 and I hate it every time. 18 on each side and I hate it every time. I hate it. So I don't mind the provisional, because then I don't have to look for it. It's the hunting for them that I don't like. I'm scratching because I'm just bit up by mosquitoes. I don't know what happened when menopause hit. Like when you hit like 35 and stuff happens with your hormones, everything changes, and now I just get bit up by mosquitoes, and I just blame everything that changed. Jesus. Everything that changes in my life, I blame on menopause. Like how I sweat all the time now. That never used to happen. Must be the menopause. I don't know. Hormonal changes, whatever. They are terrible. don't know what that has to do with hating to pick up stitches, but it does. Oh, that's why I'm itchy. I'm so itchy. Anyway, this is the start of harvest. I used a 5, which is what the pattern calls for. I did not check my gauge because I had checked the 4 and the 4.5 and they were too small, and I was like, the 5, I'm not going to go bigger. I'm worried this is going to look too big when I stockinette, which is after I pick up stitches. I'm kind of worried about if it's going to be I'm not sure I like the yarn either, to be honest. Which is weird because I usually really like a high twist, but it got a part in it that was like, see, yeah, I should have done something about that. It's got a twisty part in it that, okay, it's going to be on the back of the neck. No one's going to see it, and it's going to bother me forever. And it's not, it's freaking garter, so it's not like you can really drop down, because I never know which stitch to drop down. And it's whatever stitch I drop down, it's going to be the next stitch over it. But it did one of those in the twist of it where it's got ends. So it's one of those. But this is non-superwash wool, so I could unspin it and then spit splice it. But see, now I just pulled it out and that's going to ruin it. Yeah, I just ruined it. I mean, it's not ruined. I fixed it. If I can weave it back into, but I pulled it a little tight. So either you got to cut those ends, but I don't know if that's going to be tight enough to hold, because it's got that bubble in the middle. I might have to spit splice that. I should have just worked it when I came to it instead of just ignoring it, and that's my own fault. I knew better, and I'm an idiot. Be quiet, they live there. I hate when I make stupid mistakes that you know not to make, but you make them anyway, because who knows? You're tired? I don't know. I have no excuse. So, like I said, that is my only whip for right now, because actually I think I'm lying, because I think I have another whip, which is the blue Sinead that I just started. So this is the back piece, the back. Oh, I just blocked it, so I have not cut my ends off yet, because you know I wear it a little bit to make sure it's all stretched out before I cut those ends. So this is the blue that's going to go, we're going to use these leftovers together. It's going to look real nice. Be real pretty, because they're both really bright. This is like a electric blue. And the bright turquoise, they're both really hurt your eyes kind of colors. If that makes sense. Does it? I don't know. Although it does look really good with the mint green too, so I'm not sure. This actually has to do with what our topic is today. So I'm going to set that down and we're going to talk about the finished Sinead. I feel like these increases don't look as nice as these increases. These are make one rights. No, this is the right side. So these are lefts. Make one lefts and make one left purls, whatever that one is. So these ones, this is the left side. So these are whatever the opposite. What did I say this was? Left. So this is right. So these are make one rights. And for some reason, I think it just, because it's cotton, you have to be more, like, zhuzh them a little bit more to make them as invisible as the make one left purls. So these are make one rights and make one rights purl. I don't know what the make one right purl is called. It doesn't, no one's going to notice but me. Who cares? Really, no one's going to, but don't you see how nice this looks? And then the edges are slipped. The edges are slipped, knit. The right side row is slip knitwise on the first stitch and slip knitwise on the last stitch, and then the second row, the wrong side row, is purl those stitches, and that's how you get a nice, it's a nice edge, but it has no give. And also, what I forgot to mention, on the harvest, I did that too. I slipped the first stitch on the part that goes around. That will be the outside. That will be this outside edge that goes all the way down the front of it. I slipped that stitch. So it'll have a nice edge. And not that ugly edge that, you know, looks like crap. I did just add a video about this from I Knit with Cat Hair in my recommended viewing. I have a playlist called Recommended Viewing, if you don't know, and where I recommend videos that you watch if you want to, I don't know, become a better knitter, if you want to expand your skill set, little tips and tricks and stuff. So she has a video about how to slip the first stitch for a nice edge, which is why I didn't make one, because it already exists. So she's actually who taught me on her blog Sapphire and Pearls. I did not know it was the same person. So now, like, I have to go through and watch all her videos that are like 5 years old. Because I was like, oh, this is the same person. I've learned a lot from her. I need to watch all of her videos now, which I sometimes do. So anyway, if you want nice edges, so this means that every edge on this has this nice edge. Every edge. So all around here, all around the armholes, it's a nice finished looking edge. Even the bottom, the bind off, has a nice looking edge. So, ta-da, what did I say? Universal Yarns Cotton Supreme DK in the color turquoise. I like this yarn. It's very soft. It's very soft. Even while you're working with it, you're like, why is this so soft? It's very soft. It does, I don't think it pills so much as it just, what's the word? Sometimes you get tufts coming off of it and you're like, what is this? So I think the yarn just splits after you use it, which I've never had happen before. I wonder if there's some like relaxing in the twist that happens while it's, or if that's just the nature of cotton. I don't know. I'm not a big, you know, what's the word? Connoisseur of cotton yarn. It's not my favorite. This is starting to change my mind, to be honest. With the level of pain I'm in and having something that, like, this is going into our experiment. But I feel like these tops and these little ones that are cropped versions of my, like a, whatchamacallit. This is a tank top. And these are like little strappy camisoles, let's say, like a camisole. So these little cropped versions that I make out of the same yarn, the extra yarn, I feel like it gives you, like, if you follow the pattern that you follow, whatever, for whatever you're making, it gives you like a relaxed fit. Like if you remember jeans way back in the 90s, when they started offering you different fits, different cuts of fabric. So you had like slim fit, you had boot cut, straight leg, tapered leg. My favorite, I think, were 527s, and they had some stretch in them. Those are my favorites. If I didn't wear those, I wore the boys' men's, was it 501s, the button flies, because I like how those hung on my hips. The point is, this is when I learned that things had different cuts. So you had a slim fit and a relaxed fit, and the difference in that was mostly just ease. So you would have a dropped crotch gusset, so you would have more room there, and then you would have more ease in the hips just everywhere. You would have a little bit more ease, and a slim fit would be really form-fitting. So what I feel the difference is between wool, making these out of wool and out of cotton, is for wool I get a very slim body hugging fit, depending on how well I want to block, how aggressively I block. But with the cotton, you really can't, I feel like you can't block cotton. You can wash it and wet it and zhuzh it and let it dry, but you can't really, I can't stretch it and then have it go back. I can't, it just does what it does, and then it stays that way. Like, I feel like, hey, quit it. I feel like there's really no point to, like, you wet it and it's a finishing, but you're not really blocking. You're not really blocking it because you're not blocking it to any specs, because it's going to do whatever it wants. And then over time it's going to get heavy and it's going to drape down, which is fine. But I feel like you really cannot block cotton. I feel like the only thing you can really block is wool, because of the nature of the wool, and everything else doesn't have that spring back. Do you know what I mean? Like, nylon is, I think nylon can be heat set, but I'm not sure that does nylon block with, like, just a stretch? I don't know. I don't use a lot of nylon either, but I also don't use silk. So I have used acrylic, which also, I hate when people say acrylic cannot be blocked, because if you wash something, you're essentially blocking it. Because blocking is just the finishing technique, right? It's just getting it wet or heat setting it. It's like if you're spinning yarn, you have to set the yarn, the spin in the yarn. It's a finishing technique. So to me, it's like, if you are not blocking, you're not finished. You're not finished. So I love when people say, oh, I don't block anything, because I'm like, I imagine them walking around in stuff they've never washed, because as soon as you wash it, it's blocked. It's for all intents and purposes, it's blocked. So, but like for acrylic, because it's plastic, you would have to heat set it. You would have to, and then that can get precarious, because if you heat set it too high or for too long, you're going to kill the fiber. But there is a way to do it at just the right amount. Did he just go down and come back up? You can heat set it the right amount that's going to relax the fibers without over relaxing them. The problem is it's a tumultuous place to be, and I think you have to really know what you're doing and be really careful and be really willing to having to do it a couple times. Because here's the thing, the garment steamers that I see people using are at a really, really high heat to produce as much steam as possible, where your iron doesn't get as hot, because the point isn't to steam. So if you use an iron, the steam setting on your iron, I think you get a better result, because it's not as hot as a steamer, like just pour steam, because steam is like 212 degrees Fahrenheit, right? That gets hotter than that to produce that much steam, whereas your iron is going to, I think, just barely hit that. From my experience using an iron and using a fabric steamer, I would never use a fabric steamer again, ever. Unless you have one that you can control if you can control the amount of steam, like a low steam, that would probably not, because then the problem with using the iron is that the surface of the iron is hot, where the surface of the garment steamer isn't necessarily hot. Where the steam comes out is hot, but the surface of it, so you don't have that extra scorching from the iron because you don't want to press it because you'll melt it. Anyway, why am I talking about acrylic? I don't even use acrylic. It doesn't matter. There are plenty of tutorials that go through. Just be careful that you don't get too hot. But even then, I wouldn't really consider that blocking because you cannot undo it. It's a finishing step, but I'm not sure that blocking is the right term because you really don't have any control over what it does. You can just relax the fibers a little bit. Where with wool, that's not really what you're doing. You're manipulating the fibers more. Does any of this make sense? But you can only manipulate them up to a point. Okay, like if you're making lace, you really stretch out the lace, okay, to get it out. Where if you're doing garter, you could just lay it down, you don't stretch it. So there's a difference in blocking. How would I get down this rabbit hole? I have no idea. Oh, I'm saying I'm not sure that you can actually block cotton. You just wash it. You just get it washed. You wash it, get it wet. I put it in my spin dryer. I zhuzh it out and I lay it down. That's all I do. I don't pin it because I don't feel like this is going to. It's gonna do what it wants to do. I don't really have control over what this fiber does. Do you know what I mean? I don't have the control over it like you do wool. Wool you have so much control when you're blocking. You can block it to specific measurements, which is why I say that gauge doesn't matter. Okay, should we get into our experiment? So what I want to do is an experiment with this Sinead that we're doing, the blue one. So I'm going to make the back piece of Sinead. The back piece of Sinead is just a rectangle. It's one rectangle. It is, I think, 58 stitches by 56 rows. It's a rectangle. And then I'm going to block it. Now it stays on the needles. You just cut the edge, stays on the needles. So I will cut this when I'm done. I'll probably be done with this today because I don't think I'm going to work on this sweater today. I don't want to pick up stitches right now. That thing's going to languish because I'm like, I don't feel like picking stitches up. So I'm going to get this back piece of Sinead, which is the foundation of Sinead. I'm going to get it done, and I'm going to block it. But before I block it, I'm going to also do it in Cascade 220, non-superwash, which is 100% Peruvian Highland wool. So I want to see the difference. Like I'm saying with our jeans, we have the slim fit, the relaxed fit, right? I want to see what the difference is using the same pattern and the same, these are the same except for the fiber content, right? This is cotton, this is 100% wool, 100% cotton, 100% wool. I want to see the actual difference that it takes to make the same fit in this with this and the cotton. So what I'm going to do first is make the back piece and make sure I'm able to block them to the same measurements, which means I have to figure out what this blocks to. And in addition of the Cascade 220, I have also, now I showed this to you last week. This is the Drops Merino. Drops Cotton Merino. It is half and half, 50-50 merino cotton. And I gotta tell you, it's 10 yards more than the, oh wait, this is 100 gram, this is 50 grams. I was gonna say, look at how much different, but now I'm remembering, this is 50 grams, this is 100 grams, so this isn't gonna look the same anyway. I'm trying to figure out if the, if it's at all the same thickness. It's really hard. I'm really having a hard time. I mean, it looks like it might. It looks like it might be. You're not going to be able to tell. It looks like it might be the same thickness. And sometimes I think the black looks thinner, but I'm like, does it? Or is that a trick of the eye? Right? It's very difficult, but I'm just realizing, that one should be that much smaller because they're not the same weight. This is half the size. So I thought what would be interesting is to have 100% cotton, 50-50 cotton merino, and 100% Peruvian wool. Well, not the same as merino, not superwash. I don't think this is superwash. I don't remember if it says, but it shouldn't have to be superwash since this was the cotton. It's not going to felt. So, not at 50-50, I wouldn't gather. I'm doing an experiment of all three of these as the same project, and we're gonna see what happens. I want to see, first of all, for just the back piece, because the back piece will be like its own gauge swatch, so I can figure out, and from what I have to do to the gauge swatch to the back piece to get them all to match, I can then apply to the rest of the top and see where I need to make adjustments and stuff like that. So I'm curious because they're all going to take the same needle size. I should not have to change needle size for any of them. They shall be fine at the 4mm, which is what I use for this top. I'm assuming for the back piece that I'm going to use the same, what did I say, 58 stitches? 58 stitches, 56 rows. So 58 stitches, we might have the same amount of stitches. I very much doubt we'll have the same amount of rows. I think we're going to have different row counts, but probably the same stitch count. And I'm also wondering about yardage, how the yardages are going to stack up. Are we going to use like 180 grams? I don't know. I still haven't weighed a finished one. I weighed the gray one, and that has 10 extra. So that should be probably 10. So it should be like 170. Because 10 rounds is essentially 10 grams. It's about a gram a round. Hi, what you need? So this is my experiment while I'm doing the Harvest by Tinka Knits, because I need to make my life harder. So, well, it's a back piece. It's not very large, 58 by 56. It's not. I can get that done in like one day, like one sitting. So, or 2 half days. So I figure I want to make these in different fibers, and since I've been using cotton more, because we all know I'm a wool girl, and I really, really love the untreated wools. They're my favorite. I'd also like to do one in a superwash. I really, really would. You know what? I think I have a Malabrigo that I have two skeins of matching Malabrigo, because I made these tops out of them and then I didn't like them because they were stretched out. Should we add a superwash merino? Because I'm pretty sure I have some of them paired up, like I'm doing the slumber shawl and then I was going to do the slumber cowl. And I'm pretty sure I have Jupiter Anniversario, and I think I have one more color, because I did the Lotus and Chris together, then the Cucumber and the Pine or something together. So I know I have Jupiter Anniversario, and they don't go together. The Anniversario would make a really pretty top. Okay, Should we add superwash? Yes. Should we add a superwash so we can see the difference between, because I'm always wondering what the difference is between, if I see a pattern that calls for non-superwash, what would happen if I wanted to make that in cotton? Would it just be a more relaxed fit? Like, what is the difference? I want to see the difference. If I make everything the same and block it, right? I make everything the same first and block it, not cut it. Well, I'll cut this one because this is the one we're going on. That can be whatever it is. Make the first one, make the second, well, I'll add a third. I'll add a third one. Why not? Why not? We'll block them. I'll be able to see what the blocking tells us. I'm going to have to figure out what it actually blocks to, because it has to hit me here to make the armhole as big as the size I want it to be. So it has to come right here to here. So I'm going to have to probably measure. Well, that one. See what that blocks to, or what we can get it to block to. So I don't know how aggressively to block it, and I'll just pin it out and see. Do you know what I mean? I'm just wondering what's going to happen. I do think we'll get, I almost bought two purpley Malabrigo Rioses when I was at the store, and I didn't because I was like, I hate this yarn. Why are you buying this? Isn't that I hate that yarn? I hate superwash yarn. I don't hate it, okay? I just, it always gets bigger around instead of growing. I think that's why I like cotton. This cotton just grows longer, which is great for me because I'm tall. That's fantastic. Keep growing longer. But when it goes this way, it shortens. That's my problem. It gets shorter. And I'm like, that's the exact opposite of what I wanted you to do. So that is my experiment. I will add in a superwash. Because also, if you remember, I bought a whole bunch of cotton mixes. Like cotton and linen and cotton and modal and cotton and bamboo. I bought all these cotton blends to make this. And after that horrible failure of the Nubu, which I didn't like anyway, I'm like, well, now I'm a little gun shy at doing those ones because I don't know. I know it works in this yarn, and I don't have this in black, which is what my problem is. I really just want this in black. I should just buy, but I don't want to just buy 2 skeins in black and then pay for shipping. When I bought all these other colors, they didn't have any black. My entire like fiber arts journey can be summed up in that I wanted it in black but couldn't get it in black. That's why I started dyeing. That's like my entire problem. Just make it in black. That's what you want anyway. Nobody cares. You can make everything black if you want. Nobody's going to care. That's my experiment. So I am going to add in a superwash, I think. We'll add in a superwash and see what happens. They're all similarly sized. Similar. Well, the wools are 220 yards. The cotton is 230 and the other cotton is 240. But I do believe that is comparable because I have a cotton that is 220 and it is thicker. I think these are comparable. I think it's just that cotton probably weighs different and works out differently. Do you know what I mean? With the same thickness. So just with the fibers, you might just naturally get more yardage out of how the fiber spins at the same weight of fiber, right? Does that make sense? It makes sense to me because 100 grams of fiber versus 100 grams of another fiber, I think are going to spin up differently. Right? There's going to be different ways to spin. Like how when you do the chainette, however you spin those yarns, you get way more yardage. I don't know how you spin those either, but I'm assuming it has to do with how it's spun, or just because it's like bowling balls or feathers. They weigh the same, right? If you have a ton of bowling balls or a ton of feathers, you have 1 ton, but you're obviously going to have way more feathers than bowling balls, because bowling balls weigh more per. It's so noisy today. I found out that one bird that squawks is a blue jay, because I looked it up on YouTube. That's a blue jay. Jerks. Anyway, that's the experiment that I'm going with. So I hope you think that that is interesting. And then I'm wondering, when I do the cotton blends, if I should do the same thing, or if I'll know enough from this on how to make it match. It's really what I'm hoping to do, is to figure out how to make it match whatever the first piece needs to be, so I get the same fit, comparable fit to snap. I'm not looking for exact, but a comparable fit to these that I can wear, because these are so comfortable for me. And I'm hoping to even wear them through the winter with this cardigan. I'm hoping, which is why I also wanted to be able to make a couple of these in wool for the colder days, and then have the cardigan. Might be okay. So that is my experiment. I'd like to know what you think, or if you know of anyone else that has done this experiment or similarly between cottons and wools or whatnot. I would love a link or some way of I can see how they did it. I'm assuming someone good and not someone that doesn't know what they're doing. Does that make sense? Like with actual results and something that's tangible, that is understandable. I have one other thing to talk to you about. This YouTube channel. This is a weird thing to talk about, because if you remember last year I crocheted this lacy shawl. It was one of my dye projects, and I crocheted, I forget, Calypso shawlette, I think it was called, and you can see it on the thumbnail. It's a pink, blue, and turquoise net looking shawl that I'm wearing on the thumbnail for the video. It's one of the dye. Is it one of the dye projects? I don't remember. It doesn't matter. Here nor there. And that started something that I have been dealing with since. So last year, put out that thing, and almost instantly I got connected to a woman on YouTube. And by connected, I mean the algorithm. I don't know what an algorithm is, so I just use it like the algorithm is like they. You know, people will use the word they. Well, they say, and you're like, who is they? You know, we don't know. The aliens, the men in black, they. The government, depending on what conspiracy theory you're talking about, they could be anybody. So to me, algorithm is the same. Oh, or like chemicals. Algorithm. Whatever. I don't know what it means. So the algorithm, or whatever, attached my channel to this woman's channel, and I think it's because we look similar. I think it's the most sexist thing in the world. We both wear glasses. We have long hair, and she was wearing, in her recent video at the time, she was wearing a bodysuit that looked similar to the shawl I had made. And she is a try-on person. So she tries on like lingerie and bikinis and pasties and things like that. I don't do that, obviously. If you've been here, you know there's no pasties here. So I started to see a lot more traffic in my videos, but that wasn't turning into subscriptions or likes of my videos. It was just views, and they were short views, obviously, because if you're looking for sexy swimsuit try-ons, you're going to be really disappointed with me. Hi. That said, I don't know how long I've been dealing with this. I currently have 106 subscribers. I'm in my third year of doing this, and I should be further along than I am. And I feel like the people that started at the same time as me, I could tell you piece for piece crafting. I also think the Cozy Moth knits, maybe. But I know piece for piece crafting started at about the same time I did. Aro was way before, but she had a channel that did something else before. So like these are like people that are like newer than me and at the same time as me, that are wildly more popular. I don't like to use the word popular because that's not what I mean, but I feel like YouTube has attached me to this woman, which has put me in a genre where I'm not hitting the target audience. So if you got here, I don't know how you got here, and you're still here, you're obviously not looking for the swimsuit. You made it here. I don't know how you made it here. It seems that if people specifically search for knitting podcasts, they can find me. But most of my views, I'm not sure that I'm not being suggested by any other knitting podcast. I'm being suggested by these kind of try-on videos. And I've asked on the forums, I've looked up on the forums, and they don't care. They basically say views are views, be happy that you're getting views, and that's great, but I'm wildly missing my target audience, and I feel like I can't grow my channel. I can't do lives because you need 1,000 subscribers to do lives, and I thought for sure it would not take me 3 years to grow that audience. So I am considering abandoning this channel and rebranding, which is going to kill me because Mourning Do is personal to me. Do is my last name, and Mourning because I'm goth. I don't want to lose the Mourning Do name. I really don't, but I don't know how to get out from under these like try on, and I'm not shaming. Get it, girl, get your money. If I was that age, I'd probably do it too. Totally cool. The problem is I can't grow my channel. My channel is floundering, and I don't know what to do. I don't know what to do. I'm not reaching the audience I need. They've got me tied to this try-on stuff. I don't know what to do. And like a lot of times I just want to quit the channel because I'm not getting anywhere, and I'm not wanting to be huge. There's so much I want to do here, but without an audience, I can't do it. And I don't want to be like flippant and be like, I don't think it's me. Every one of these are the same. Whether you watch Chevy Rell, you watch Grocery Girls, you watch Michael, you watch Aro, you watch Leslie, I'm trying to think of Natalie, like you watch Cozy Moth, you watch all of us. We're all this. It's all the same content. I'm probably closest to what's her name, the one in England, the Hops, Heather and Hops, Cat. Do you know who I'm talking about, right? Is it Heather? Now I'm blanking on everyone's name that I watch. I think I'm most like hers because she's just about her journey and so am I. I'm about my journey. But it's not like any of us are wildly... Okay, Chevrel drinks. And her editing is super fast. So is Mesa Scanes. She's very fast. And so I'm like, if you can follow those two people, you can follow my train of thought because I bounce around. I think all of us have some ADHD happening. But I feel like if you can follow me, if you can follow them, you can follow my train of thought, right? But if you watch any of us, it's all the same. It's all the same. We're all talking about the same different, I mean, we all have different things that we like to do, but we all show you our whips, our finished items, our squishy mail, what we're planning on. Like it's the same thing. You just have a different host. So unless I think that people just hate me, which is entirely possible, it could be people just don't like me and that's fine. I don't care. But I think it's more likely that I'm stuck in that algorithm of them thinking that I'm going to do some sexy swimsuit and I'm thinking about it, to be honest, thinking about it. Do you know that people hate watch things? And I'm like, I'm 46 years old. Let's do some sexy swimsuit try-ons. Like if you... I could just imagine the comments I would get, right? I could just imagine the comments. But those hate clicks are still clicks, right? I wonder how much money she makes. She has 260,000 subscribers that are coming to me. They're primed. And it's just me doing this. I don't know why I can't unhook from her and they can't put me with the knitting, but there's literally nothing. Like all of my tags, everything. I don't know, my friend sent me a link about stuff to read about how to do it. That to hopefully, but I don't know once I'm there if it's gonna, I don't know. I should probably read it and fix some crap. I don't know. But that's the trouble I'm having with the channel. So if you are here, I appreciate you. And I don't know what to do, if I should rebrand and hope that you guys will follow me and I can hook to some other, how is this hard? It's knitting. How is this? I don't understand. I don't understand what happened. But anyway. That's what I'm considering. I was also considering just stopping altogether just because it's such a pain and it's a lot of work to do a video every week. And I've been doing that for 3 years. And I do it for me to keep me working because otherwise I'll just sleep all day. Yesterday I slept all day and then I slept all night. It was so hot. God, it was so freaking hot yesterday. Anyway, here nor there. I guess I'm not sure what the future of this channel is, and I'm thinking about things 3 years in and what I want to do and where I want to go. I do want to keep knitting. I can't imagine I will stop knitting unless the ulnar entrapment, the nerve entrapment makes it impossible. Then I will have to stop knitting, and then I'll have to find something else to do. But I don't know what that would be. So for now, I'd like to keep the channel going. I'm just not sure if I should start over and abandon this and move so I can get away from that woman and her swimsuit try-ons that I can't get away from. Or switch and join her. I don't know. Oh God. that thought is so hilarious to me. I can just imagine the hate comments I would get. I hate the internet. I absolutely hate it. I hate it so much. Anyway, if you have anything to share, leave a comment below. Oh, this is my foster and my dog. They're in. Oh no, you only see the foster. You can't see the dog. They're in matching beds right next to each other. They're best friends. It's ridiculous. Anyway, okay, that's it. What's next? Oh, next week is another one without a title, but I do have an idea, which was going to be today's show, but then I came up with this experiment, so maybe next week will be what I had planned to talk about today. And then after that, I'm sure we're planning for the next month already, because I'm not ready. It just started. I don't know what it is. Okay, anyway, I'm going to get out of here because it's supposed to storm pretty soon. It looks beautiful. But that's why I did it early, so we could be done before it storms. So, take care of yourselves. I will see you next week. Goodbye.